Welcome back to Kingdom Come Deliverance here on Serious Gaming. Need to see that priest. Who lives over here, right by the church. Very well. Father Godwin. Well, he is asleep. I'm not gonna rob a priest if I can prevent it. Wait, wrong button. I do kind of hate the fact that the torch is the same button as... let's see here. Sermon of Master Jan Hus. Right. I do hate the fact that the torch is the same button as drawing your weapon. That is a bit of an issue, isn't it? Alright, gonna sit down and gonna enjoy some of this reading for Jan Hus. An attempted reformist. Alright. Written down by Father Godwin, parish priest of Ushitz. One should not believe the church because the church is not God. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned... Okay. The church is not God. That is true. What of the devil himself? Alright. Against drinking. I can agree with that. On lust. Alright. Okay. Well, the teachings of Master Jan Hus. The wisdom of Jan Hus. There's a lot of issues with the Catholic Church. A lot of issues that were created. You know, there is a reason behind the split between the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church. It comes down to this idea that the Pope, at least according to the Orthodox Church, was supposed to be the first among equals. Not to effectively be emperor in a sense. So the Pope, under the idea of the Orthodox Church, was supposed to be what the Emperor of Rome was in a sense, under, say, Augustus. But then the Catholic Church developed this idea that the Pope had to be the supreme leader, right? That he was the one that decided everything. And that's just not how it went. That's something a lot of people didn't find acceptable. I mean, it's the difference between the early Roman imperial system, where you did have the emperor first among equals, even if he did have ultimate power, versus what came after, which was the domination, where the emperor had supreme power. And the Catholic Church found it convenient, or the Pope in Rome found it convenient to embrace that system. It's just a lot of people were not particularly happy with that.
You live here?
Of course.
I mean here, in the presbytery.
Yeah, right here.
In the presbytery? With the parish priest?
Yes. What's the matter? Don't you like me?
Yes, of course I like you.
So why are you surprised Godwin likes me too?
I'm not. I mean, I see. I think.
So... he has a concubine. One of the biggest problems, by the way, in my opinion, with the Catholic Church is that they can't marry. Whereas in other churches, it is not only acceptable, but even heavily encouraged that priests do marry. Alright, I am going to stick with these. And equip these as well. That should help.
Huh?
I want to speak with your...
Watch where you're going!
Alright, Father Godwin.
The blessings of our good Lord be with you, Father. I'm here in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa, investigating the massacre at Neuhof, which seems to be connected to a murder here. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish, boy. I hope this nasty business will be cleared up quickly.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
A bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think he was such a bad person.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhof was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know. And I'd like to help you with your investigation, but I can't.
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to tell you.
Vows more important than catching dangerous murderers?
There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is the sanctity of the confessional.
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can make an exception.
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances, and this is one of them.
For heaven's sake, Father, can you really look me in the eye and tell me that, when you know you may be condemning innocent people to death?
I can, because if I broke that vow, the consequences would be much worse than if I didn't. Maybe not immediately, but one day. The mills of God grind slowly.
Father, Lubosh was my only lead to the Neuhof raiders. Only he could tell me who was responsible for that massacre. If I don't find out who it was, it will probably happen again. Surely you wouldn't want that.
I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the confessional. I'll tell you what. Give me some time and I'll try to think up some way of helping you. Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a cup of good wine. Maybe we'll come up with something.
All right. Thank you, Father.
Okay, I am gonna want to break that chest open. There's a simple logic to it all. Oh, wait. He's got a sword? What? Alright. I'm obviously not gonna steal from the priest, but I'm not quite sure I want to go that far. Then again, I did steal from the monastery.
Hey.
Yep. So he's got some swords there on that wall. Common saber? Interesting. Okay. I will need to go to the tavern at night then. This is the tavern, so I'll just wait around then. Hold on, actually. Some food. Wouldn't be bad to... Alright, that's in bad condition. What's the status of the food? Okay. The bread is gonna go down quite a bit. It's fine though. So I just wait. And he did say drinking, so I'm gonna take one of those potions to deal with drinking. So, a priest that drinks, well, drinking is fine in the Catholic Church, I think. Or rather, drinking is fine now among Christians. Though it's not... Obviously, look, people are going to drink. That is just how things are gonna go. That's how the way the world works. We know how that prohibition did fail priests hard. I'm reminded of a moral or a story that one of my teachers, and I did go to a Catholic school for about 1 year. One of my teachers there told me that. Actually, was it the teacher? Anyway, just someone very, very religious told me that you don't necessarily have to follow every single rule that's written down in the Bible or anything like that. But you do have to follow the essence of those rules, and you do obviously have to follow the 10 Commandments as best you can. I understand a lot of people don't give a shit about religion, and that's convenient, right? I mean, who cares about lying, for instance, these days, right? Maybe people should care. It's a lot more difficult than you might believe to just say, oh, I'm not gonna lie. There's all kinds of lies. Anyway, I am going to drink... consumption... Nope. Antidotes... No. Prevents hangover and cures alcoholism. Prevents hangover. Ah. Alright. So there is no potion that could cures you of drunkenness, prevents hangover, and okay, I'll use that later then. Father?
The blessings of our Lord be...
And with you, lad. Take a seat.
Hey, look out! Doesn't even know how to apologize.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything. But maybe we can work something out. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son.
Here you are.
With whom do I have the honor?
Good health.
Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh. I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Here. We'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Noyo? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that of a man of the cloth.
You know what they say. The Lord moves in mysterious ways.
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape.
I notice there's a woman living with you at the presbytery.
What of it? Have you never met a cleric who lives with a woman before? Mother Church won't let me take her to wife. Too afraid it might lose its property to any heirs she bore me. But she cooks and cleans. And, well, as a man, I have my needs.
I'm not sure the parish priest at St. James would agree with you.
I heard he was a bit odd.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Ujits is in Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. A tongue lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison. And nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs, while Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
Well, there's quite a few things to say about that, but on the issue of the confessional, it is more important than the here and now, even when it comes to crimes. Oh, it's so convenient to ignore just how important it is for people to be able to put their trust in the church or in the government. That if there are things you say that you expect to be secret, they should stay secret. One of the biggest problems that did occur during the communist era is that various churches, priests, bishops, whatever, were either bribed, threatened, or whatever, into giving up the secrets that people were telling them. Not significant stuff, not nowhere near as significant as this, but still fairly significant. Is the church political? Well, let's see. Communism fell because of the Catholic Church. Hell yes, it's political, and it's been political for a very, very long time. So is the Orthodox Church, so is the Protestant Church. The Church has always had a political nature to itself. But the Church is also independent from the government, and that's one of the things that people need to understand. The moment you go down that path is the moment everything starts collapsing. So it is important what he's saying. People need to be able to trust those secrets, or trust authorities. Obviously, that's something authorities need to work on to earn people's trust and keep people's trust. As someone who lives in Eastern Europe, I can tell you this much. No one trusts anyone. Everyone's a selfish cunt. Everyone's only out for themselves. And the reason that mentality developed is because of the desperation people went through during the latter years of the communist era. And that, in all those decades, did have a very significant and negative impact. Consider the implication. Henry is an agent of the government, basically, trying to get information from the church against the church's rules. And you might say it's acceptable in this situation, and obviously I'm going to push for that, but the principle of the priest is not wrong on the principle of the matter. As for his own sins, while he condemns the priests, that's a bit more complicated.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
He's wrong and he isn't. He's wrong in the sense that one of the biggest problems a lot of countries have around the world is that they expect miraculous leaders to pop out of nowhere. The reality is society creates leaders. People get the leaders they deserve. There's a great saying in that. And you can't expect people to act differently when the rest of society doesn't. On the other hand, the fact that he drinks, lives with a woman, that's not exactly the bad part. The bad part with the Pope, as opposed to him, is, and obviously the high-ranking members of the Catholic Church, the bad part is they live in luxury and wealth. And also because they are basically allowing people to buy their way out of sin with those indulgences. There's a lot of reasons why I dislike the Catholic Church. It became a political animal, mainly because it was forced to, and it did do a lot of great things. Who do you think preserved the teachings from the Roman era? Who do you think preserved the school system? The healthcare system, so to speak, when the Roman Empire collapsed? The Church did. The Church did a lot of important things. But then they tasted a bit too much power, and then it started blowing up in their face. And that's where Jan Hus comes into the picture.
What do you think of this Jan Hus?
He's certainly a wise man.
I'd like a beer.
A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Funnily enough, historically, he would actually visit the Bohemian countryside and come to realize that things are very different than in the nice ivory towers of the University of Prague.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
The same can be said, by the way, about modern scientists. A lot of them are academics, I should say, living in their ivory towers in the university, in their nice, comfortable, all very well organized world. They don't understand how the rest of humanity in what conditions the rest of humanity lives in, the things they have to deal with. So it's nice to preach from those ivory towers. I'm just saying, burn them to the ground.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. And they're calling for change. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up, and the church will be shaken to its very foundations.
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe.
Oh, but they will. You know that thing called the 30 Years or the Hussite Wars, or the rise of the Protestant Church? It all began with Jan Hus's death. Murder, really. Sigismund, who would ultimately win and become Holy Roman Emperor, that's a whole other discussion though. But Sigismund, who would ultimately win, did offer him safe conduct to attend a very important council to resolve the Papal Schism. They did, by the way, resolve the Papal Schism there, but they also burned Jan Hus at the stake for being a heretic. And that led to some of the bloodiest wars that Central Europe would ever experience, up until the Napoleonic era, or along those lines. A lot of people would die, because it was bloody murder. And it's not just, mind you, the idea that, oh, they burned Jan Hus, people revolted. No, the church called a crusade, repeated crusade against Hus's followers to stamp them out. And that ended as well as you might expect. Sigismund would lose to them, though he would quote-unquote win the conflict in the end, because the Bohemians would fight among themselves in a bloody civil war that would tear the country apart. So, yeah, they would be that stupid. The church was forced to become political because of the nature of politics and following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, whereas the Orthodox Church never had to deal with that until much later, once the Byzantine Empire collapsed. But then they went too far. They got too greedy, too stupid as well. 2 popes, one in Avignon, one in Rome, all of that stuff. And it would tear Europe apart. I mean, it's already torn Europe apart, I should point out, but all that stuff that's happened with the 2 popes, the 3 people, 4 eventually vying for the title of Holy Roman Empire, that's just a prelude for everything that's about to happen. Anyway.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough.
Oh, it's getting quite late. What are your plans, Father?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
That sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj panuje sej smutek, do dnielo i rano utek, niech ich małżeński majstrat, do wczera żylne staje prak. Už sejmoj svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě jí kůži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požerem si huby jako poslední den. Půjde se vámi, panorama slávy a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den. Tak nalej mi hned, ať točí se svět.
Enough of this!
Bailiff, come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Oh. You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
Wait, are we really going to do this? This is just an ample example of stupidity. Then again, I've known priests that get along with the people, all that stuff. Priests like him, cheery fellows. I've known the fire spitters as well. I should. Okay. All right. Okay. Fighting the bailiff, that's a smart.
So, my dear.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dears. Careful,
Hey.
you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're a buffoon.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath. And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
At least I am not drunk, I should say. I was smart enough to use that potion. Hello, Father. Yep.
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast. Get up. Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards.
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
Where the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well.
Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me. I'd like to help you, but you can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look. From what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
Well, Father Godwin, obviously it's in my interest for him to speak, but still. So, let's see. Lying, breaking the confessional, getting drunk, having sex. Yeah, outside of marriage, I might add. Yeah, I'd say he's going off the rails quite a bit, isn't he?
So all at once, the confessional seal isn't so sacred?
Don't mock me. I won't give you a second chance.
Well, all right. Well, I can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubosh.
Christ almighty. Fine then. We have a deal.
Wonderful. Let's get to it then.
This is gonna end very badly, isn't it? Well, might as well put on my pointed yellow hat, ring, gauntlets, equip my weapon, armor. Wait, maybe I should equip St. George's. Okay, I have charisma on that. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, charisma's about the same, so it doesn't really matter all that much. Oh god, my speech is so... Oh, my speech is actually fine, believe it or not. Yeah. Beyond the obvious bonus, negative aspect about it all. Alright, should be fine. I think. Hold on. Actually, good father, stop right where you are. I need to... Oh shit, I can't read. Yeah, shut up. I have to read this.
Come on.
Fine. Hopefully I don't fuck it up. You can actually fail quests, even main quests, I think. Not that I intend to, I might add, but you can.
I thought he'd never show up. The swimp.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God. Any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Alright, you need to remember the proper...
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is above all things, and the church is but a means to salvation, which the prelates do not care to hear.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, humans, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame, shame upon them.
And such sins, those who should lead with reason, who should shun debauchery and show the path of righteousness, which is the duty of all priests, instead they indulge in drunkenness and intoxication. Therefore the apostle says that a bishop may not be a drinker of wine, and parish priests must be sober. And it is written that when a bishop is a drinker of wine, he must be deposed, and a priest who drinks must be punished or deprived of his priesthood.
He's talking about Godwin. For sure he's talking about him, the drunkard.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates! Away with them!
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Aye, all honor to Godwin. Let him drink like one of us.
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is. He's right, that Hus.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a silver tongue.
I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague. He told him nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So's gluttony. And fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you?
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.
Ah, yes. Well, why did I defend him? Might be tempted in real life to condemn him for what he did, but this is not real life.
Not as usual grouch yourself at all. What's he so pleased about all of a sudden?
Haven't you heard?
Okay.
He's courting some wench on the side.
What? Vasher?
Father, didn't I see you outside practicing swordplay? I wouldn't have expected that from a man of the cloth.
With a stick. I
his.
practiced with a stick.
No, but she's not from around
Reminder of
here.
my youth and days gone by, and it helps keep me in good form.
Do you have any work that needs doing?
My dear lad, I have more worries than I can bear. Another pair of shoulders would ease my burden. I have to deal with a local witch.
A witch?
The neighbors are missing 2 hens already.
The herb woman, old Gertrude. That devious hag who will stoop to anything. Like all herbalists, for that matter.
Oh, don't tell me. The cows are giving blood instead of milk, and babies are being born with 2 heads and a tail.
This is no laughing matter. Gertrude isn't evil. She just has peculiar ideas about what's good for people. A little bird told me she incited some Uzhet's women to witchery.
A little bird told you, did it?
You know how good people are at seeing the splinter in another's eye and not the beam in their own.
In other words, someone's been gossiping. And what's the problem?
As long as herb women stick to giving psychic to folk and bloated cows, assisting in childbirth, or burning incense in bedrooms to help with sleep, then nothing at all. But this is sacrilege, and it's unsafe. All sorts of molds and lichens and poisonous plants and other foul things go into those concoctions. I'd hate to see her poison some poor gullible lass.
What do you want me to do?
I want you to go and see her and find out what she's been up to. I know she lives in fear of the Holy Church, so tell her I sent you. That will make her talk and think twice about encouraging witchcraft. If you learn that she truly did involve folk in some foolishness, find out all you can and deal with it.
Consider it done.
Good. And never fear. I'm a man who always pays his debts. You'll find Gertrude, the old herb woman, in the woods.
All right. Okay, the door is locked. So be it then. Now I am going to go to the tavern and see what's there. Wait, what? Can't talk with her? Why is that? Can't talk with...
Jesus, what do you want from me now?
Is there anything suspicious going on in these parts?
Oh, aye. It's suspicious that you, of all people, would be asking. It's only since you turned up there's been odd things happening.
He's refusing to tell me, basically. And they don't like me much in... Oh, shits. Alright, so be it. Maybe if I deal with this quest, they'll be more favorable towards me. Was it really because I killed that bandit? Seriously? Did Reshade stop working or something? I think so. Maybe? Wait. Okay, just away her. This horse can travel for a very long distance. Might be my skill though. Roe deer. Okay, maybe that's the one I need. No, still red deer. Where would I find that? Yeah. Okay. Oh, need to steal that, apparently. Fine. But first, I'll deal with this quest. And I'll drop this, deer meat. A hare?
I'd like to discuss...
Well...
Would you teach me something about...
Are you serious?
Would you teach me something about medicinal herbs?
Are you serious? You want me to teach you after what you did here?
Can we do something... Here.
Well, that worked. Let's see about Savior Schnapps. Maybe I can make that. Let's see about it.
This?
Alright, this shouldn't distill it. Hopefully this works. Let's ignore that for a minute there. Okay. Fuck, what? Just what the fuck was that?
Good day.
What the fuck? Just what the bloody fuck was that? Holy shit, come on, really? Okay, lesson learned, press escape once you've done the potion. Or else you'll fly through the wall! through the ascent to the heavens. Henry is clearly a saint. What the fuck? Oh man, that was hilarious. Well, I figured out how to make potions then. 2-1. Save your schnapps. I don't need Lazarus though. I actually don't need either of them, but it's a nice way to improve your alchemical skill. I wonder if you can brew multiple potions at about the same time. Well, either way, I'll just make 2 savior schnapps. That should do just fine. Hopefully, this time, without being teleported through the fucking ceiling. I was just like, I'm out. I'm going to my people. Peace. Alright. Okay, I need 4 of these, 2 nettles, and that should be it.
I'd like to discuss the price.
Well...
This, and...
Well now, thank you.
Alright. Okay. What? What the fuck? What? This game just doesn't want me to. What? Come on. Come on. What's wrong with this game? I don't understand it. Fucking bloody fucking. What the fuck? Just what the fuck? Oh god, this is so stupid. Okay. Right, fine. Maybe if I get the cauldron up and running all that stuff. Oh no! Oh, come on. Really, Warhorse? Really? If that happens again. Fuck that shit. Really. I'm a visitor from Mars or something. Vulcan. I'm going back to my people. Well, this has certainly been a hilarious episode. Costin here on Serious Gaming saying, yeah, I need to restart my game.